Sure.
So U.S. consumer confidence fell this month, the most since August of 2021. What is your message for Americans who are concerned about the impact of things such as tariffs on prices?
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you for that question. It's obviously an important one. The president campaigned on reigniting the Trump economy and fixing the mess that was created by the previous administration. We know they created an economic and an inflation nightmare for the American people, and I'm not going to stand up here and lie to you like my predecessor did about the state of our economy. We understand there are people that are hurting, and this administration is wholeheartedly committed to ensuring that those individuals see relief and price reductions and tax cuts and in less regulations that are burdensome on their household and their businesses. And the president and this entire administration are focused on that every day. I can go through the very long list of economic actions this president has taken. I know you work for Bloomberg, so I'm sure you're well aware of them, but I can assure the American people that the president is very much focused on bringing down the cost of living crisis in this country that was created by the previous administration.
Speaker, I just have a quick follow-up.
Sure.
Is the president planning on whipping any votes for support for the House budget vote? And if so, to whom is he making calls?
I'm not aware of any calls that he has made. I did talk to the president about his position on this just before coming down here, and he said that he's made it very clear to the Hill what his priorities for a budget are. He's said it to the Speaker of the House. He said it to Leader Thune. The Senate and the House know what President Trump wants and know what the American people want. And so he expects Congress to get it done. He's looking at the proposal from the House. He will also be looking at the proposal that I believe the Senate is drafting up as well. Sure.
Thank you, Caroline. I have two questions. Does the United States, I'm sorry.
Well, why don't you identify your question and I'll come back to you. Sure, go ahead.
So, what guarantee that Israel will withdraw from Lebanon soil after 2 weeks, as the ceasefire terms indicates?
I'm not sure about the guarantee that you're referring to. I can tell you that this administration remains very much engaged. We know the deadline for the Phase 1 ceasefire is imminent. So Steve Witkoff, whom I mentioned earlier, and the president's administration and his team and the president himself remain very much engaged. We want to see the ceasefire continue, and the president has made it very clear he wants to see all of the hostages who have been held in captivity in Gaza returned home. Jeff.
Carolyn, I was wondering if is Elon Musk going to attend the president's first cabinet meeting tomorrow?
He is, as a matter of fact. I spoke to the president about that before coming down here as well. And Elon, considering he is working alongside the president and our cabinet secretaries, this entire administration will be in attendance tomorrow just to talk about DOJ's efforts and how all of the cabinet secretaries are identifying waste, fraud, and abuse at their respective agencies. We look forward to the meeting tomorrow, and I think you'll be hearing from the president and his cabinet where they're on campus tomorrow. I hope you guys are excited.
So some of those cabinet members were caught off guard by the email.
Nobody was caught off guard.
A few departments said they were caught off guard. The FBI was, the DOJ was.
Did anonymous sources say that, or did the cabinet secretary say that?
The cabinet secretaries and others have said that they were not aware that this was happening. So I'm wondering, will there be a give and take tomorrow at the cabinet meeting? Is Elon Musk or the president open to any type of dialogue about who is actually in charge of the chain of command of these workers?
I would reject the premise of your question, Jeff. The cabinet secretaries have not said that. I know anonymous sources, probably career bureaucrats, have leaked that to many of you in this room. But as I said at the beginning of this press conference, everybody is working as one team, and the president respects the decisions of his cabinet secretaries to tell their staff, not to respond to that email because they did so out of interests of national security, and they don't want to obviously risk confidential information. It's pretty common sense. Dasha.
Musk has obviously been doing a lot of work. He's been working every day, and a lot of the time weekends. He is designated as a special government employee, which means that he can only work 130 days per year. Is the White House expecting him to limit his work to 130 days, or are you going to work around those rules? Do you want to see him extend beyond the 130
So today
days?
is February 25th, so I think we've been here about 35 days, roughly. So ask me in another 100 days. Daniel.
Caroline, thank you. You opened up with a major announcement from Apple $500 billion, 20,000 jobs, doubling its advanced manufacturing fund.
Yeah.
What does that signal that such a global brand would make what it called its largest ever spend commitment just a month into President Trump's second term? What does that signal about his economic vision for the country?
President Trump is a deal maker, and he has restored confidence in business leaders around this entire world. Apple is one of the largest companies on the face of the planet. They employ hundreds of thousands of Americans, but the president wants to see more Americans employed, more investments here in the United States of America. And this is another fulfillment of the president's campaign promises. I recall President Trump at his rallies on the campaign telling the world that if and when I am elected, America is going to be back, and we want your investments to be driven onshore. We want you to hire American workers, and you will have the lowest regulatory burden, the lowest tax cuts, and the president has already proven he's committed to slashing regulation. He's counting on Congress to implement those tax cuts. And so people are encouraged by the president's, again, as Tim Cook called it, they're bullish about American innovation because of the leadership of this president. And it's a stark contrast to the leadership of the previous administration, Joe Biden, who I don't think spent any time trying to recruit any investments or jobs here at home. Mary.
We're hearing from some Republicans who are voicing concerns about how these cuts are being carried out. Congressman McCormick, a Republican from Georgia, tells us he's worried it's too rapid for real people to adapt to. And he says he's concerned that it could come off as discompassionate, in his words, that it could risk undercutting the strong message that he feels you're trying to send about the need to cut government waste.
Well, I think that was one comment from one senator, and I think, as I cited in my opening remarks in the poll, the most important people are the American people, and 77% of Americans at home support a full investigation into the waste, fraud, and abuse that the federal government has been spending their tax dollars on. So that's the people the president cares about most, and that's why we're fulfilling this pledge. And again, it should come as no secret to anybody. The president campaigned on doing this.
The president yesterday said if you don't respond to this email, you will be fired or semi-fired. What does he mean by that?
Again, I've been asked to answer this question 3 times now. It is
semi-fired.
But it's in the memo. The president again has entrusted his cabinet secretaries to oversee their workforce. That's why he nominated them to be cabinet secretaries, and so federal workers can be directed to.
The press conference began with a discussion on the decline in U.S. consumer confidence, which has fallen significantly since August 2021. The Trump administration's press secretary blamed the previous administration for economic struggles, emphasizing President Trump's commitment to reducing inflation, cutting taxes, and easing regulatory burdens. When asked about the president's involvement in the House budget vote, the press secretary confirmed that Trump had communicated his priorities to Congress, but was not actively whipping votes. The discussion shifted to international affairs, specifically regarding Israel and Lebanon. The press secretary stated that the administration remained engaged in ceasefire negotiations and sought the release of hostages in Gaza. Additionally, Elon Musk's attendance at the president's first cabinet meeting was confirmed, with a focus on identifying government inefficiencies. When asked about Musk's limited workdays as a special government employee, the press secretary dismissed concerns, implying flexibility. The conversation moved to Apple's announcement of a $500 billion investment in U.S. jobs and manufacturing. The press secretary framed it as a direct result of President Trump's economic vision, contrasting it with the previous administration's lack of similar efforts. Concerns from Republican lawmakers about the rapid execution of budget cuts were addressed, with the press secretary highlighting widespread public support for investigating government waste. Further inquiries involve personnel changes within the administration, including the replacement of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the appointment of a new FBI deputy director. The press secretary emphasized the need to shake up the Pentagon and eliminate corruption in federal agencies, defending the appointment of Dan Bongino as a necessary move to reform the FBI. She criticized media portrayals of Bongino as a far-right podcaster, instead portraying him as a patriotic law enforcement veteran with experience in government operations. In a fiery and assertive press conference, the Trump administration's press secretary did not hold back in her criticism of the previous administration, framing framing current economic struggles as inherited problems. This messaging is strategic, reinforcing the idea that Trump is fixing a broken system rather than causing new issues. While there is some truth to economic trends predating Trump's policies, the blanket blame on the past administration oversimplifies a complex economic landscape. Her commitment to tax cuts and deregulation plays well with conservative audiences who believe in reducing government intervention. However, history has shown that tax cuts can lead to both economic growth and widening deficits, a nuance that was absent from her remarks. The rhetoric of economic revival aligns with Trump's long-standing image as a businessman turned politician focused on deals and economic expansion, but the real impact remains to be seen. On foreign policy, the administration's stance on Israel and Lebanon reflects a common U.S. approach, supporting Israel while encouraging diplomacy. However, the press secretary's vagueness on guarantees regarding Israel's withdrawal suggests that the administration may not have firm commitments on that front. This lack of clarity is often a strategy to avoid making promises that may later be difficult to uphold. Elon Musk's role in the government is an interesting development. While he is lauded for his business acumen and technological vision, his classification as a special government employee raises questions about the blurred lines between private enterprise and public service. Musk's involvement in key discussions on waste and inefficiencies within government agencies underscores his influence, but his limited work days under this classification could lead to logistical complications. Apple's investment announcement was a major win for the Trump administration, reinforcing the narrative that his leadership is restoring corporate confidence. However, attributing it solely to Trump overlooks the broader economic forces at play, including global supply chain shifts and increasing U.S. pressure on companies to invest domestically. The administration's firm stance on budget cuts and eliminating government waste aligns with conservative principles, but the concern raised by Republican lawmakers about the rapid pace of cuts cannot be ignored. A measured approach would ensure that essential services remain intact while trimming unnecessary expenditures. Personnel changes within the administration, particularly in the Pentagon and FBI, signal a broader effort to reshape federal agencies to align with Trump's vision. The replacement of the Joint Chiefs of Staff chairman underscores Trump's dissatisfaction with the Pentagon's performance, reflecting a broader skepticism toward military leadership. Similarly, the appointment of Dan Bongino, a vocal critic of federal corruption, is a deliberate move to reform the FBI, though his strong political affiliations may raise concerns about impartiality. One of the most striking aspects of the press conference was the press secretary's combative approach to media narratives. Her pushback against what she called anonymous sources and biased reporting reflects the administration's broader battle with mainstream media. This strategy energizes Trump's base, who already view the media with skepticism, but it may alienate more moderate voters looking for a less confrontational approach. The Trump administration's communication style remains bold, direct, and at times combative. The press secretary's handling of economic foreign policy and personnel issues was designed to project confidence and strength, but the lack of detailed policy explanations leaves room for scrutiny. While Trump's leadership has undeniably reshaped certain aspects of the economy and governance, the long-term effects of his policies, particularly in economic stability and institutional trust, remain to be seen. The administration's aggressive stance on shaking up Washington resonates with its base, but whether it leads to sustainable change is a question that only time will answer.